Hi everyone, my name is Lisa and this is Lisa Makes. So today I am going to unravel this cashmere sweater for you, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. You might have seen some of my previous unraveling sweaters, and I'll put some of them maybe in the down bar so that you can watch those if you haven't. But often I kind of went to kind of do this and do that, and now I think I've found the exact method to get these sweaters to release. I think that this is a great way to cut down on buying so much yarn, and it's also a great way to reuse things, because so often so many of the clothing that we see in thrift shops and online often end up either getting burned or getting sent to another country where they are also not appreciated and not needed in the abundance that they have. Like overall, we just have too much stuff. And I think reusing something is a really great way to do that, to help that. And as well, it's a great way to work with luxury fibers that would be prohibitively expensive if we bought them in the skein. So if you can imagine how much cashmere yarn you would have to buy, this would cost hundreds of dollars easily. And I bought this sweater for 40 euros, 38 to be exact. And I'm actually unraveling this for my daughter because she wants to knit herself a cashmere sweater. And she's very petite, and so I think that she can probably knit this double and get a great sweater for herself. So one thing I want to draw your attention to when you're taking apart a sweater is you want it to look like it has these kind of seams. Do you see? It's just like in knitting where you have two panels and they come together and it's been stitched together. Do you see that? It is not, and I'll put in a picture of a serged edge where the thread is wrapped around the edges. You don't want that. It cannot be unraveled because the edges are cut and you'll just end up with lengths of, this long yarn. So this is going to unravel beautifully, and I'm going to show you exactly how. Okay, so in this case, I very simply have a seam ripper and a small pair of snips. And I'm going to start by turning the sweater inside out. So we have to look really, really closely. Can you see here that we have little V's? Do you see the little V's? And on this side, we have bars. Just like in knitting, you've got your knit side with the V's, see, V's. And on this side, you have just the bars. Now the key is to take your scissors and to find a set of V's. Here, I'm going to put my scissors through both bars of the V's. Let's find one that's clean here. There we go. And snip. There, do you see I've broken that? And then I'm going to pull it open. There you go. So I've pulled open. And now I go to the other side, pull out that end, and now it will open all the way. Like magic. And that's going right to the end. And of course now we've got a little bit where the ends have been tucked in, and honestly, I just cut through that. Okay. So now we've got one side completely done. Let me show you again for another example on the other side. Okay, so let's try this again, and this time we'll do it with the seam ripper. Same concept. I like to go up near the top, near where the side meets the armpit. So this side, I've got V's. Do you see that? This is a V. This is a V. Yeah, and this side is just bars. So on the side that's a V, I'm going to take my seam ripper. I like to hold it this way more. See this V? I'm going to go under both legs like that. There, and now I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to pull out the bar on that side and then open this up a little bit and then I start pulling on that other end. There we go. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to finish the rest of this and then I'm going to show you how to do the neckline. Okay, I want to look now at the collar. And if we look closely at the collar, we can see the same thing. We've got bars and on the inside we've got V's. Yeah? You see that? V, 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 V. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go under 2 bars of the V and I'm going to go through it. I'm going to give it a little tug. And then I'm going to go to the other side. I'm going to find the corresponding bar. I think might be this one. Or is it this one? Let's see. Yeah, so this one's a little more finicky. I'm trying to find the edge here. You can see that it's opening up fine. There we go. One thing with sweaters is they're never 100% easy. Do you know what I mean? They all have their little idiosyncrasies. So you do have to have patience. But overall, this method is going to work because it's working with the knit itself. Okay, so now we have a sleeve that's been all opened up. And you'll notice at the top of here, we have a chain, like the cast off edge. And so what we want to do is we want to hold it. And if I can't, I'm just gonna take off this little end and see if I can get. You don't want to cut off this loop. You'll lose, I mean, if you could possibly avoid it. You know, this is just some ends from where it was attached. And honestly, I often will just cut the edge. See, there we go. I will cut the edge when it's together because sometimes it's just too gnarly to get those apart. So I don't mind cutting through this way, but I don't want to cut across this way. Okay, so now that I'm here we go. Do you see we've got some loops here? We're just trying to get those loops. There. There we go. There, see? Let's see what happens when we get to this end. There you go. Don't be alarmed if the first few are short. Usually it's just because it's just part of the taking apart process. There we go. So now we're all good. And you can do this with every piece. Every piece is going to have that chain across the top. Most sweaters are going to be slightly different. So, you know, you have to be willing to have some patience, really look at how it's constructed and be willing to take the time. And then I just start winding. I like to fold this in half and then in half again because it just provides more tension. Okay, and that is how you unravel a sweater. I think this is just a really great way to add to our knitting practice or our crochet practice. You know, we all buy so much yarn, and I just think that a mixture of new and secondhand in all aspects of our life, I think is really good. That's my personal philosophy. And so if I can have some beautiful yarns from sweaters that are just languishing, if I just put in cashmere sweaters between 20 and 60 euros, let's say, there are hundreds. And even just in one day, there will be dozens and dozens and dozens. So I really don't look at this as taking away a sweater from somebody else. I look at it as taking something that is languishing and may never get used and turning it into something that will be cherished. So this yarn is going to my daughter. She wanted a sweater's quantity of cashmere for Christmas. And so I gave her the sweater and I gave her the option. I said, you can keep the sweater as is, or I can frog it for you and turn it into yarn. And she wanted it into yarn. So she's a petite person. So I really think I'll put the meterage. I don't have the meterage, but I'll put the weight. And it looks to me to be fingering weight. So I think she's gonna hold it double and knit a DK sweater. And I've maintained the cuffs because I think you can reuse them as is, but you can always frog them later. It does not look to me like this one has that little bit of elastic, and you can see it. If you get to the point where you're about to unwind ribbing and you look really closely, you can see if there's a very, very thin elastic with it, in which case you wanna just be careful to not use that because it will mess up your gauge, right? Because part of it will have elastic and part of it won't. Anyway, I hope this was helpful. I hope it was enjoyable. I have some more unraveling videos to coming up for you. I am currently finishing up one cardigan in reclaimed yarn, and I have a Luma pullover from Sari Nordland that I've started that is half reclaimed yarn and half new Sonder yarn, which I think is brilliant. Anyway, let me know below what you think. Let me know below if this is something you could see adding to your knitting stash, and if you've ever knit with reclaimed yarn. The last thing I should mention is, no, I don't steam it. I do wash them, I do keep them in the freezer, but I don't soak them and dry them before I knit with them. And the reason why is I don't find it's necessary. I don't find it changes my gauge. I don't find it changes my tension. Is it a tiny bit wrinkly in the fabric? Maybe a little bit, but honestly, if it bothers me, I just give it a steam as I go. I honestly don't think it's a step that's necessary, and if I can streamline, I will. So obviously, if it really bothers you to knit with kinky yarn, then go for it. But for me, it doesn't. As I tension the yarn with my finger, it stretches it out and I knit with it, and then it becomes part of the new fabric. So for me, not necessary. Okay, guys, that's all for me. I hope that wherever you are, the sun is shining and you are knitting or sewing or doing whatever makes your crafty heart happy. And I will talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.